cost but low quality too. Then Hewlett Packard for years, so they made a strategic planning. And what they did, they bought Compaq. Now what happened to them? This was a good, because your research assignment asked you to look at the company and their planning, strategic planning or shifting of their mission and vision. And sometimes company expand. Vision, the difference between vision and missions are very similar. Mission is more focused. Vision is a long term. Like Eastman Kodak, their vision is to become the leading chemical company. That's their vision. The mission is a short-term version of vision, and they're interchanged. Most people get them confused because they're similarly the same. And Hewlett Packard changed their mission to become, just a little bit more. They wanted to take over some other companies, and companies do this all the time. They take over others. Was that a good move for Hewlett Packard?
Yes.
No. Actually, it wasn't.
But initially it was because they got the larger market share of the Compaq.
Initially, they thought, but why that was a bad move for Hewlett Packard? Actually, after a year, they lost market share. If you look at what happened to Hewlett Packard, they got they got Compaq, but their market share fell rather than goes up. And that was a bad move. And these are the stuff I want to see in your reporting. Good analysis of company and back it up with some references. I want to see references. You just can't say it was. I want to see some references, some research, and say according to this report, if the market share fell, that was a bad move. And why did the market share fail? And why that was bad strategic move? Mainly, simply as you were buying Compaq, including myself. And then when HP bought Compaq, I thought, oh God, the quality, you're buying a lower quality. So I thought HP, perception is the key. Perception for companies are the key. So you always have to make sure, the purpose, their goal, their objective are meeting the expectation. And it didn't, because I was thinking, and most other customers thought about Compaq be a low quality product. And when HP bought that, they thought, okay, HP product is quality was downgraded. So it was a bad move. And I have HP now, but I had reservation about buying HP after Compaq was bought up by HP.
I'll give also the example about in the car industry, when Benz, Mercedes, Daimler-Benz bought Chrysler. Chrysler was kind of like a low quality compared to Daimler-Benz, so it bring the Daimler-Benz quality to low.
Exactly. So these are risks associated with companies when they do that. So management, have to be very careful in this process, because when you make a bad strategic move, the thing is the perception stays with customer for years to come. Like a car maker Audi. For Audis in 80s has such a bad quality reputation that still it's hard for customers to say, hey, quality has changed. Audi is a decent car now. So it's very important for companies not to make bad mistakes, because it stays and perception stays for a long time to come. So when you do planning for a company, you have to have some objective. Your objective have to be specific, measurable, realistic, and timed. So how do you look at some objective? You have to have a way that you can measure the success of that change. As I said, example was again Hewlett Packard. The measure of success wasn't there. The share fell. So when you do planning, you need to see and you need to study after the stages of planning is done to see if the planning was done correctly or not. And these are, as I said, some of objective in planning process. Then you have, and we've been talking about this strategic planning. So when you do your research assignment, you want to look at the strategic planning of the company. As I said, I gave you one example, a good one. this morning, Walmart, and you always want to look at the latest thing. So when you look at a company, if you talk about a company that is not an innovative company, then your grade is going to be affected. I want you to look at some latest good companies out there and look at what are they doing in their strategic planning. And Walmart, this was a bold move on part of Walmart. And they used recession to their advantage in their strategic planning. Why? How come? Because that gets to SWOT analysis. The SWOT analysis stands for, threats, for opportunity companies. That you have to. SWOT analysis is very important for companies. And what did recession help Walmart? There is shifting of the strategy. They have actually a very good team. Planning is the primary focus of management. If you do a good planning, then after that, organizing and leading and controlling fall in places. But if you have a bad planning in the first place, then the rest of it doesn't make much sense to the company. So strategic planning is extremely important to company. Walmart looked at the recession as an opportunity. Because recession opened up what it did. Recession made some of the competition, took those competition out of the way for Walmart. Because they went out of business. So Walmart is feeling. But now, you've got to look at monopoly of the situation. Now Walmart, my personal feeling is now it's becoming too powerful. Do you all remember AT&T that was so powerful as a phone company? Remember years ago, if you made a call overseas, how expensive it was? Now through the regulation, now it's much cheaper. But AT&T had, monopoly on phone, and for years, they hold on the market. And now the threat is Walmart is moving that direction. Kmart is kind of very, very big position. And now Walmart they're changing their strategy planning, and they're going after other players in toys and others. Walmart never was competing with toys. Now they're just bringing toys into their store, and they're already taken over 4. So the downside is when companies become too powerful, then the customer might suffer. So I'd like to see this when you do your research assignment. So something might be good for the company, but let's see, is it beneficial to customer, we as customer at large or not? Then in a strategic management of companies, they always have to have basic technology, key technology, and pacing technology. And you want to always maintain some sort of a balance. Always company have to have a base to stay in business, to compete. And key technologies when companies want to take over others. Like Sony. Sony had a very base technology for years. They started, and they were the first one that actually started the Walkman. I mean, 84 personal Walkman. A lot of other companies, they were smart, and they looked at Sony as, they would say, okay, what is your R&D? You know what R&D stands for? Research and development. Companies, in order to be successful, always start to spend money on R&D. But the smart companies, they they said, okay, what is your R&D? And the company would say, our R&D is what? It's Sony. They would refer to Sony because they would look at Sony, and they like companies like Philips and some others, they were smart companies because Sony kind of had that base technology but never did a good job in key technology to overtake and maintain it grow. So others took Sony lead and moved on and moved past Sony. So innovative companies, like the organization, as I said, I started a couple of years ago, it was innovative at that time. Now the challenge for me as president of this company is to maintain that growth, because now others are looking and say, hey, this is a neat way of having a company to organize conferences. So I'm feeling what Sony felt in mid-80s. So the challenge for me and my organization is to see we're going to make some